All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our new program of hypoglycemia awareness. Today is another episode of Jaws Coffee Chat with Jennifer A. Whitaker, and today is May 14th, 2024. I'm Elizabeth Oberkirsch of Oh My VA Admin Services, and we always like to give a special thanks to some great folks for replaying our shows on their platforms. Zach Clayton of the PACT channel, Jay Stoyan of the Disability channel, and Lawrence Wingate of Wingate Studios. We definitely appreciate their support and participation. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the social media pages, groups, and YouTube channels, or wherever it is you came to find out about us today. By the way, for closed captionings to show, be sure to turn on the CC at the bottom of your screen during the transcript. And with that taken care of, let's get started. Jump right into this new topic. Take it away, Jennifer.
Welcome, everybody. Today, we are going to talk to you about keto versus carbohydrate intake and the healthy balance necessity, yet typical, other than those on the ketogenic diet, typical overconsumption of carbohydrates. So a lot of people think carbohydrates means bread, maybe rice, different things like that. But where the ketogenic comes in with people with hypoglycemia is that often people who have hypoglycemia from a shortage of carbohydrates tend to not necessarily take in enough vegetables, beans, and legumes, I think is what we call the family, to fruit and other things that are the healthy kind of carbs. And a lot of people who have diabetes and other conditions are on the other extreme who may struggle with hypoglycemia because they change their diet day to day. So when they cut back on their sugar and carbohydrate consumption, their medicine is too strong that puts them in hypoglycemia because the medicine stays a certain strength every day. So it's to reduce your blood sugar by a certain level every day. And that's where with those with diabetes and on a healthy diet have to regularly consume the same amount of carbohydrates. But then that goes back to also what's a healthy carbohydrate versus unhealthy. And a lot of people think of bread and other things as the bad carbs. What I've actually uncovered through research, and actually even talked to someone I know who has a bachelor's degree in health and nutrition, human nutrition, is that it's not just bread falls under one category, but it's flour-based goods, whether it's processed or it's baked. This means it could be flour, meaning having gluten because it's flour, based cereal. That's not just the sugar, but the actual flour that's in it that makes even things like cereal unhealthy, nutritional bars that have flour based, which means if you go on a gluten-free diet, you won't have any of this in your diet. But on the other hand, you won't necessarily have what actually is the healthy kind of carbs that are still often baked goods, but are wheat based or other whole grain based. So yes, you can still consume bread and be healthy with your carbohydrate consumption. But as far as I found out recently, give or take in the last 24 hours, that flour-based consumption, whether it's the sugar, not sugar, whether it's the cereal, it's the nutritional bars, or anything else that has flour, and not just sugar and the other things that we think of as bad carbs, but that those are not just unhealthy for the Americans because we usually think, oh, well, I don't want to have diabetes, or I do have it and I don't want my sugar to get out of control. Whatever's a typical worry and association of why it's quote unquote bad, right? But I found out flour based food actually is linked to Parkinson's disease. So if you consume your carbohydrates that are whole grain based, then you can still enjoy that sandwich using whole wheat or other whole grain bread to still be a sandwich, watching your proportions as far as still not to consume too much carbohydrates, but that, even though it's still bread, it fall under healthy carbohydrates to make that sandwich a healthy sandwich, uh, as opposed to being flour based. That's the white bread or other kinds that are not whole grain or wheat and so forth. So you can still have quote unquote have gluten because the whole wheat is gluten. So if you keep eating gluten, just make sure everything is wheat based, whether it's a cereal, like let's say Raisin Bran. The what makes it quote unquote bran is that they use whole grains to make those flakes. So that has gluten, but it would be considered healthy for you unless you have a gluten intolerance because it's wheat and whole grain based instead of some other things. Uh, like I know it's a lot of the cereals made by Kellogg's that have flour based, and I remember that because a lot of those were not allowed on my gluten-free diet back when I used to have food allergies before finding my way to get that under control and actually not even have food allergies anymore. But that's a whole nother topic. But either way, that Kellogg's brand has a lot of cereals that have flour-based uh, made cereals versus General, what's that other one? General something brand?
Um, General
General
Mills.
Mills. There we go, General Mills. So General Mills makes a lot of stuff that's like frosted mini wheats and other things like I know that Cocoa Puffs by them. Yes, it has the sugar, so we need to watch that. But as far as the carbohydrate, it's based off of something that is not flour. It's some kind of whole grain. So it's gluten free. Now that means it doesn't have wheat, but it's still whole grain. And so those are some of the ones where, okay, we need to watch for the sugar, but as far as watching out for the carbohydrate, that's the traditionally assumed carbohydrate, uh, like bread and all that, that would be a better option. So say, for example, one that I think of that if you look at just cereal that's really healthy is, say, a light dose of sugar in the frosted mini wheats. There's a whole grain wheats. That's why they're even called mini wheats. But there's that little bit of sugar to give you a kick and good taste, but it's predominantly a huge load of the whole grains. That's wheat whole grains. So being wheat, it'd be healthier instead of, say, Lucky Charms, that's a lot of sugar and then has the flour based. So light mount sugar and whole grain based. And this isn't to say which cereal you pick, but they're examples of where it's some kind of whole grain based and light on sugar, if there's even any sugar at all.
Right.
But that's just if you're focused on the cereal. But this really applies to a lot of other types of food. Say, for example, you want bagels. Okay, get whole grain bagels. And maybe look for some kind of alternative to make maybe a bagel based sandwich or biscuit kind of thing where it's got the um, sausage and maybe some cheese or something, maybe some egg with the whole grain bagel being actually the bread.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be healthier than a biscuit, but it'd also be healthier than we traditionally eat bagels with cream cheese. That's really a bunch of fat and other things that are bad for us. They're not what I talk about as far as hypoglycemia. They wouldn't lower or increase your sugar, as far as I know, that's in terms of hypoglycemia. But still, that with hypoglycemia, we have to consume carbs. But it's the whole thing is looking at what is a healthy carb to consume and what are the unhealthy that I found out the hard way led to Parkinson's disease.
I was always amazed by how much sugar is in regular bagels.
Right. So you see what I mean? It's not just the carbs of what people think that's the flour, but it's the other carbs that people, I mean, how many people actually look at bagels and read the ingredients unless they have a food allergy or something?
Yeah. I mean, there's like, I think I see 6 or 8 grams of sugar
Mm-hmm.
in a bagel. And I mean, you look at it, you think of bread, you don't think of that being sugar,
Right.
but it's actual sugar that's in there.
Well, what about thinking about Pop Tarts? A lot of people think is a healthy breakfast.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's flour based usually, unless you get gluten free. It's flour based bakery pastries, basically,
Hmm.
with
And it's
sugar
not real
stuffed in
fruit
it.
stuff, it's sugar. It's
Exactly.
sugary,
The
flavored
stuff, the
like
stuffing
fruit.
inside, and if you get the frosting on the outside, kind of
Exactly.
colored. So see, that's where we're uncovering about with hypoglycemia that you probably one of the best things I would say based off what you said, EJ, is they need to read the ingredients and the nutritional
Yep.
facts. See what are you really consuming when you eat whatever brand's form of some kind of carbohydrate,
Yep.
and is it whole wheat? Is it flour based? Does it have sugar? If so, is it a lot or is it a little? And you want to switch to a little bit, if any, sugar, which means it's not going to be a dessert item. Even if there is sugar in it, it's not going to be dessert defined as far as a pie or whatever. But, because those are never healthy. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if you
And
say,
there's a
oh, I
difference
only eat
between added sugars and fruit or natural sugars.
right, like some people be like, oh, well, cherries are great for me, so that's a good thing I got out of eating a cherry pie. And I'm like, I'm sorry, no, that'd be better just go eat a straight up cherry, like you're saying.
Yep.
Um, but where all this ties in is that a lot of people with hypoglycemia, whether it's diabetes, and they, like I was saying, they change how much they consume day to day. So sometimes their sugar's healthy, sometimes it's too low because of too much medication compared to what they ate that day, or that they skipped a meal and didn't eat. But still, that it can also be on the other end with the ketogenic diet of what I found myself. I avoided carbohydrates altogether. That's defined in uh, the everyday humans understanding, but not actual nutritionist understanding. So that wasn't fruit, that wasn't vegetables and the nuts and seeds family. I was getting rid of bread altogether, crackers, different kinds of baked goods, like we usually think of as carbohydrates, whether it's sugar
Hmm.
or the other kind that most people
Pasta.
think of. Yeah, pasta. I eliminated those, and then I noticed I was really fatigued all the time. My body ached a lot, but I wasn't sick. And other symptoms that had to do with I tried to build muscle and I'd consume a lot of protein, but my muscles and all after workout would actually hurt, and it even hurt 2 or 3 days later. And what actually made it feel better, eventually, I found out, was eating more carbohydrates because I was eating less than, like, it'd be one slice of bread was all I ate of carbohydrates that's traditionally defined as carbs and not what the nutritionist would say that's the others I've consumed, like one serving or two servings of vegetables and one serving of fruit and then my protein. some kind of meat, which had the protein, sodium, and fat that I have to have for my diet.
Right.
Okay, so that I thought was a pretty healthy diet. And then I found out all these symptoms I was going through. It wasn't just a matter that cutting the carbs caused my blood sugar to be low because it was too little carbs, but it even was a matter of I was eating more often, getting hungry more often, and basically depleted of energy. So I went to do a research finding that most of our energy comes from carbohydrates.
Mm-hmm.
And even when it comes to the grains, as opposed to just the fruits and vegetables, we actually need them. And
Mm-hmm.
it really is a healthy balance we need that varies based upon our activity level.
Yep.
But a lot of people, even in different spiritual realms, different spiritual reasons, believe in fasting and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always been told by doctors and my family, I don't care what's the biblical reason, you're never to fast. You just can't fast with all the conditions you have.
Right.
Okay,
And so
well,
many people, when they get on the keto diet, they never actually make it into ketosis.
that's true.
They've just cut the carbs, but they never actually get into a state of ketosis or whatever, however it's pronounced. I was
Yeah,
watching a
ketosis,
video
that's
about
correct.
that. Yeah. And
Yeah, because a lot of Americans eat too many carbs and don't realize which carbs they're still eating,
mm-hmm.
and don't realize that one slice of bread has something like 28 milligrams, and we're allowed to eat 4 grams, not milligrams.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people either don't read the nutritious fact or they don't count it, or they reduce the bread and grains to however much, but then they're still eating all these other things that are additional carbs. It's like the fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, all that other stuff.
Yeah.
They're not looking at every single type of carb out there.
Right.
But that's where it comes to understanding of ketosis has been for many years used to treat epilepsy.
Mm-hmm.
But just because it's used to treat epilepsy, and that often causes epileptics to be, thinner than many other people, then that doesn't mean it's really a healthy diet for the everyday people.
Mm-hmm.
People who don't have epilepsy don't need an epileptic diet. It's good because of the ketosis that does certain things to change the brain that stabilizes it for the epileptics, but it also, for the general population that does not have overactivity in the brain, it depletes them of the activity to function daily, whether it's doing your job, it's your personal responsibilities like maintaining your living space to be clean, taking care of your kids, the energy to do laundry, or take them where they need to go, your kids and everything. It's so many things. We don't have the energy for just what's life's responsibilities when we are on the ketogenic diet. And we actually truly get in ketosis. And I honestly found that after I had truly got into ketosis, and that's why I started looking up for signs of not enough carbs, that I was only consuming 28 milligrams a day of carbohydrate versus you're supposed to stick less than, is it 4 or 7 grams? So grams are thousands of milligrams versus me being down to only 28 milligrams. And so to be at a healthy level, I found out I need to have at least 100 milligrams of carbohydrates in my diet to not be depleted and my body to have what it needs. There would still be less than the 4 grams, but I didn't know I was really aiming for 4 milligrams. So that's
Yeah.
another thing. in math, we talk about teaching people grams, milligrams, all those units, and how they correlate with each other. How many of this one or that one? But that's a prime example in everyday life of when we need it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we don't know those, we don't realize how much we are or are not consuming that we need to consume or not consume.
Right.
So all that put together, to maintain hypoglycemia, we need to eat the right amount of carbs. But what's right amount doesn't just have to do with medication for diabetes or just being a healthy eater. It also has to do with your activity level. Like when y'all knew me a year ago, I spent a lot more time sedentary, didn't I? I mean, you remember we'd be going on and on for hours all day long for, especially on Wednesdays,
Yeah.
and so many other things that I was spending sitting down.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say there weren't other people in the U.S. doing that, but that we were. I found as I had moved to my apartment in the last so many months that since I walk everywhere and I don't even use Uber except for to go to doctor's appointments, since everything that's not medical is right here walking distance from where I live now, that I'm burning a lot more calories.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of where, how you've said, EJ, you may even, since last time seeing me, you may see another difference in my weight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was looking at somebody yesterday. No, it was Sunday. Sunday, I had, how you and I are, we have our mental health conditions. And I had one of my episodes, so I called asking for the mental health. Anyways, there's certain people in my county that work with the police and come along with them when the emergency has to do with someone who has a mental health condition and needs help through the mental health crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked for them to come, and they made a comment about uh, what had I done something to somebody. And I found out that what they were really doing is saying that the person that I was complaining about was a lot weaker than me and I'm a lot more muscular. So they thought I would have had to been the one doing something to somebody. And so I just giggled and I kind of like blushed and went like that. And I said, no, I just work out every day. But I didn't feel that I was muscular and in shape and everything that's what you've probably seen, that's a matter of December through now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Give or take 4 or 5 months. And they actually labeled me as muscular. And I mean, how many of us women see ourselves something different than what everybody else does, right?
Yeah.
So I came to realize all this that's cutting down on the carbohydrates and the being more physically active, to walk and bike everywhere, even if it's doing a workout to get to the gym to do a workout, like
Yeah.
biking or something, that still I've been so active that my body actually needs more carbohydrates than what I used to eat that used to be unhealthy for me. So eating, a sandwich or two a day and some kind of cereal as a bedtime kind of snack that was quote unquote healthy sweet, right? Because it had the
Mm-hmm.
sugar, but it had a lot of nutrients. Okay, that had me a weight problem. What, maybe 2 years ago when you and I started working together, or was it 2 years ago when I started this podcast? But you remember what I'm saying?
Yep.
There was like a
Yep.
certain many, and I had the chunkier face and everything. So I had that certain diet, and I go to find out all that was my habit at the time. That certain amount of carbohydrates was actually what I need now.
What you need now. Yep. Because your body can burn more of it now.
Right, because I'm constantly walking, biking. Like, I just walked, I don't know, 15-minute walk to go to my doctor before walking back to get on here with you. And before I went to see her, I was going around my apartment community to take my recycling stuff to the recycle bin, to clean different areas like vacuuming, to then going to another part of the apartment to throw away my trash, and all this walking to do just simply maintaining my place, right?
Right.
In addition to the now walking to the coffee shops I go to, not just calling Uber and sitting at one all day. I mean, that's a lot of us that are physically active don't really realize how much we burn and need, because that's not what the majority of Americans fall under.
Yep.
So the way many of us fall under, we consume too much and we have some kind of health and weight problem. A lot of the people that are healthy think, oh, well, this is the issue in America, so I'm going to go this other direction. Whereas they don't look at what's best for them personally.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it wasn't until I saw my sister, who's a physical therapist, that I realized I really do have active lifestyle now. I remember wondering 2 years ago, how in the world do people even have active lifestyles? I mean, what do they do? Walk and run all day long and not work? And then that's basically what it is. Now I hit that point of active lifestyle. So I need to look, even if it's researching on the internet, how many carbohydrates do I need for an active lifestyle that's my height, my uh, age, and other factors, but an active lifestyle. And that'd be even if, say, somebody wants to use their Fitbit or something to categorize to show them how much of the carbohydrates you need to consume. But then it all goes back with hypoglycemia. We have to be consistent. And that's diabetes or hypoglycemia, but consistent, because of what I said with the up and down of your carbohydrates, because you got a cheat day, as we say sometimes, right? For those that are diabetic, when they try to be healthy and the medicine is fit for the unhealthy habit, they'll drop. The blood sugar will drop. Because it's meant to fight this certain amount of carbohydrates and this certain amount of unhealthy carbs like sugar and all that, but they didn't consume it, so it fought and went too low.
It's a lot of information.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of work.
I'm nerdy. I love researching.
You don't look nerdy.
There we go.
All right. Well, if that covers it today, we will go from here. Let's see. What do we got? Do you have any announcements of things coming up that you want to make our listeners aware of? Things on the website or?
I was going to say it's still not fully out there on 10times.com, but what people can go to our website for is the Weight Transfer Summit. And that's one place where we go in more detail. There's going to be a public speaking event starting July 10th. It'll be the second Wednesday of every month from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. Central Time on the Zoom that we will send out to everybody who goes on our website and pays for either a ticket or a recording or a VIP ticket, to get both a ticket to and a recording after of the speaking event, where we go every month through 2 years period, talking about everything from healthy eating, supplements to help with weight, health, different types of exercise, de-stressing our life, being more productive, spending our time on more of the things that really matter to us, and other aspects beyond just health. I mean, in health and wellness, but it's more beyond just simply managing your weight. This is making your life a better life for you that is defined by each individual. But that's going to start July 10th, and it'll be the second Wednesday of every month for 2 years. And it's an ongoing series. One builds onto the other. So you really want to joined the whole show and the whole series earlier on in the 2-year process between July 10th of 2024 until somewhere around the same time of the year of 26.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you everybody for joining us again today. We hope you enjoyed this new program that we've started working on with hypoglycemia awareness. Again, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel or social media pages where you found us, and check out the website, jensbooksandmore.com. That's JENNS, booksandmore.com, spelled out, and find out more about this program and all our other shows and the upcoming program that she was talking about just there. So until next time, we wish you a productive and enjoyable week. Bye now. Take care.